Alright, so I went to a red carpet tonight for a documentary called Kern Oil at the historic Bakersfield Fox. If you've never been, you should definitely check out that theater. It's amazing. They do great stuff, great concerts, all kinds of fun venues. But they were showing this red carpet, and I wanted to go and check it out. And unfortunately, this movie had some problems. Now, I should state a few things to clarify some positions on things just so you understand where I'm coming from with this. I don't work in the oil industry, don't know anything about people who work in the oil industry. I also am not a Gavin Newsom supporter, but I'm also not a Gavin Newsom hater. So keep that in mind. And it may seem weird to talk about that in the talk of this documentary, but you'll understand what I mean, where I'm coming from. And also, I don't mean this as any hate to the filmmakers or people involved. A lot of them seem like very nice people. I saw them at this red carpet event. None of them seem like bad people. I just think that this movie was very flawed. And I say movie because it is a movie. Now, some of you might be confused with why I clarify that. Let me explain. And this will help you understand why I don't think this movie fully worked. A documentary is a movie. And for some, that might seem a little bit weird because, yes, it's a movie, but it's a different type of movie. Yes, but a documentary is still a movie where someone directs and edits it to make a story or a narrative. How you do that, it may be different from like a movie like, I don't know, Scrooge with Bill Murray. I'm just picking a random movie here out of my collection, right? But there still is a thesis that you're trying to get to. Now, that thesis can be factual, backed up with information, or it can not be. That's how there's documentaries about the 2020 election being stolen, right? Stuff that's not factual, but they had a thesis, they went in with that thesis, and they shot and edited and controlled the narrative so they could show you that story. And so those movies like that are a great example of that. And then you get movies like this, which make it a little bit more nuanced. This movie is mostly factual. And I say mostly, but because this movie basically talks about how in Kern County we produce oil, and the oil we produce here is some of the cleanest oil in the county. Or in the country, and in the county, which is not in the county, but in the state, right? And how, because of policies here in the state, we have been able to, they've been changing things and over regulating things, and how that's cost jobs and all these things. And these are all valid points and discussions to be had and not doors to be closed. But where you get into problems is there's actually a scene in this movie where I'm not even joking you. A character, and not character, but one of the people involved in this, I forget his name or whatever, his exact part, where he works in the oil industry, all that. But anyways, he says that Gavin Newsom passed some policy, which he did. I'm not saying he didn't, but that deregulates oil. Not deregulates, regulates oil by asking for a permit for certain things. And because all these permit things are happening, it's created issues. And so these oil companies have gone out soon. They think that Gavin Newsom overreached constitutionally. And he says, point blank, in my opinion, buddy, you can't say that shit in a documentary. This is not about your opinion. Well, I guess in some instances it would be okay to talk about a documentary. Like if you're doing a documentary reminiscing about the history of a movie and what it means to certain people, that might be okay to do that. Like think of like The Toys That Made Us documentary, things like that. But when we're talking about like the history, when we're talking about Kern County oil and what's going on in the state with the regulation and things like that, you need to be as factual as possible. Also, there's parts where they literally claim the governor said stuff that I didn't fact check that he said them, but I'm like, okay, if he said them, then why are you not showing him say that? I don't know what the laws are. Maybe they had to ask for the governor's approval to show that footage, but I feel like you should be able to do it no problem. Like, I don't know, if you're gonna criticize a politician and for things they say, I don't know, have the fucking balls to show them saying it. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're gonna spend all this time making this documentary, editing it, doing all this, like, then fucking do it. Show that. And so I do feel like this movie had a thesis, had things it was trying to say, and I agree with some of the points that they made, but it wasn't as factual as it should be. If you're going to make a movie like this, being the utmost factual is truly something that needs to be. And also, I think there's quite way too many digs at climate change people in this movie. There are literally so many points where these freaking people in this documentary just keep saying, because of the climate change, blah, blah, blah. Buddy, climate change is real. You may not agree with how they go about dealing with the climate crisis, but you cannot deny it's real. And because I was in a theater with mostly older folks, they were literally clapping at the climate change denial at multiple points. And so that was a big part of this movie too. And so this movie, would I recommend you see it? No, because as much as I actually enjoyed this movie, thought a lot of stuff was interesting, there's also a lot of like stuff that just need to be cleaned up to really make it all work. And I just didn't feel like this movie really worked. So it's an interesting movie to kind of just remind me of why it's so important to remind people that documentaries are movies and their narratives can be controlled by the people who create them, just like a director can control the story of his movie in any way he wants.